Good morning, students. Today, in this video, we will discuss about lesson 6 from our book Vistas, titled as On the Face of It, written by Susan Hill. Susan Hill, she was born on 5th February 1942. She was an English author of fiction and non-fiction works. Her novels include The Women in the Black, The Mist in the Mirror, and I Am the King of the Castle. Introduction. The story is about a teenage boy, Derry, who is also known as Derek. He has a burnt face, and Mr. Lamb, who is a disabled old man with a tin leg. Derry accidentally enters his garden so that he can hide himself from people who hate him because of his ugly face. Mr. Lamb not only welcomes him in his garden but also encourages him to lead a normal life, leaving behind his past. There are two main characters. First one is Mr. Lamb. He has an artificial or tin leg. Second one is Derry, who has a burnt face. And third minor character is Derry's mother, who plays a very small role in the last scene of this play. Mr. Lamb, an old man with a tin leg. He is a crippled, handicapped, and lonesome man. He is sensitive and optimistic, and he is lover of nature. He is optimist how? Because he assures Derry he can do better than others if he wants. He advises him not to believe in what the people say and never hate them. Why? Because hate will harm him more than a bottle of acid. Mr. Lamb tries to instill positive thinking in his mind. Derry, who is a boy of 14 with a half burnt face, is defiant, resistant, and withdrawn. He has withdrawn himself from the society. He suffers from inferiority complex. He avoids people, and that's why he develops a negative attitude towards life. On the face of it, it is a unique play with three scenes. First scene takes place in the garden of Mr. Lamb, and this is the longest scene of all. Why? Because in this scene, Derry undergoes a drastic change in his attitude towards life. Second scene, it takes place in the drawing room of Derry's home. Third scene takes place in the garden of Mr. Lamb again. Mr. Lamb falls from the apple tree and dies. Derry weeps over the dead body of Mr. Lamb. Let's discuss about the summary. Derry, a young boy of 14, enters Mr. Lamb's garden hesitantly. When he comes out of the bushes, as you can see here, he has hidden himself behind the bushes. When he comes out of the bushes, he is surprised to hear Mr. Lamb talking to him. Mr. Lamb warns him about the crab apples. Crab means sour, that usually fell in the long grass from the tree. Daddy was shocked on hearing a voice. Mr. Lamb introduced himself and also said that small sour apples, known as crab apples, had fallen on the ground. If Daddy would not be careful while walking through the grass, he could trip over them and get hurt. Daddy said that he didn't know that someone was present in the garden. He thought it to be empty, and even the house seemed empty to him. Mr. Lamb tried to comfort him by saying that the house was empty as he was out in the garden. He also asked him not to be afraid. Daddy wanted to leave the place. Mr. Lamb tried to stop him and said that there was no need to leave the garden just because of him. He also told him that he kept the gate open for people. It was only Daddy who jumped the wall. Daddy got angry for being pointed at like that. He also clarified that he had not come to steal anything from there. Mr. Lamb agreed by saying that at many times apples had been stolen by young boys and that Daddy was not so young. But still, Daddy wanted to leave. Mr. Lamb told him not to be afraid of him and asked him to stay there for a while. Daddy told him that he was not afraid of anyone. Rather, people were afraid of him. Lamb asked him the reason for that. He told him that he knew what people thought and how they behaved in front of him. Mr. Lamb questioned him about what others thought of him. Daddy said that people got scared on seeing his face. Some considered it bad or ugly, while some even took pity on him by saying that he was a poor boy. He added that they were fake. Actually, they all were afraid of his face. He even got scared of his own face when he looked into the mirror. He added that Mr. Lamb will also pity him, but in his heart, he will also be scared of Derry. Mr. Lamb said that he was not afraid of Derry. Derry was shocked to hear that. Then Mr. Lamb told him that he would bring a ladder and stick and pick fine and ripe crab apples as they made a good jelly. He also told him that in September they get ripe and become a magic fruit having orange and golden color. He also asked him to join him in doing so. Derry pointed him for changing the topic just like other people did. He added that Mr. Lamb didn't ask him about his face because he was afraid of asking about it. Derry got annoyed and said that he didn't like the company of people. Mr. Lamb guessed that maybe his face got burnt in some fire. Derry told him that it was due to acid that had burned half of his face. He was so sad that he kept on repeating that acid ate his face and that it would never get cured. Mr. Lamb didn't agree with him. Derry thought that he was not interested in his story. To this, Mr. Lamb said that he was interested in each and every creation of God. He pointed out at a wall and asked him what he saw beyond it. Derry replied that there were weeds or unwanted plants. Mr. Lamb explained that there were a number of plants in his garden. There were flowers, trees, and herbs. Some plants were considered good and some were called weeds. It was not because they were different. All of them were green in color. It was about how people considered them. to be herbs or weeds. In reality, they all were same just like Daddy and himself. Daddy didn't agree to this. Mr. Lamb told him that there was no difference. He was young and Mr. Lamb was old. But this is the sentence spoken by Daddy. He asked Mr. Lamb that no, there is a great difference between no, he doesn't agree with Mr. Lamb as there is a great difference between him and Mr. Lamb. How? As he was young and Mr. Lamb was old. He had a burnt face and Mr. Lamb had a teen leg. Daddy asked him the reason behind his tin leg. He replied that it got damaged in an explosion many years ago. Kids teased him by calling him Lemmy Lamb. Daddy said that he could cover the tin leg with his trousers so that no one could see it. Mr. Lamb said that it didn't bother him, and people would get tired of teasing him and would start discussing something else. Mr. Lamb suggested that things like crab apples, weeds, spiders, and the tall sunflowers could also be some of the other things that people would probably look at and discuss. Derry commented that other things mentioned by Mr. Lamb were just things. Mr. Lamb replied that all the things were related to each other, just like beauty is related to the beast, that is, a beautiful creation is related to the ugliness. Derry was confused. Mr. Lamb asked for Derry's opinion. Derry replied that often he had heard people saying that beauty is not related to one's appearance, rather, inner beauty is our real beauty. He said that once a beautiful girl loved a beast for who he was and kissed him, which turned the beast into a handsome prince. This makes Derry understand that ugliness is only skin deep. A man is not what he looks like, but what he really is. Handsome is that handsome does. The story is to inspire Derry, and he should not care for his burnt face. But Derry tells that people stare at his face and they are afraid of him. Derry tells Lamb that women talk of his ugly face. They say that none will kiss except his mother. Mr. Lamb tells him that he must have heard so many other things also. The best thing is to keep his ears shut and need not pay attention to such talks. Mr. Lamb talks about the bees in his garden. Some people like their buzzing while others hate. Mr. Lamb calls it a sweet music. It is only the difference of attitude. Derry tells that people stare at his face, so he avoids them. But Mr. Lamb tells that keeping a lawn is not a fine thing. He tells a story about a man who was always afraid of being run over or getting infected or meeting with some accident. So he locked himself in a room. There, a picture fell on his head and killed him. Daddy says that his family often talks about him downstairs when he is not there. They are worried to think what is going to happen to him when they are gone and how he will get on in this world. Mr. Lamb doesn't agree with him. Lamb encourages him that he has got two arms, legs, eyes, ears, a tongue, and a brain. He can achieve whatever he likes. He can be better than others. He tells Terry that he has got a full body that can be better than others. He can do anything like other people or may do better than others. He asked Lamb several questions to know more about him. Mr. Lamb says that He sits in the sun and reads the books. He likes the windows open to hear the wind. Lambs tells that he has a lot of friends everywhere. Everybody who comes in his garden is his friend. Derry wonders how a person can be his friend about whom he knows nothing. Derry says that there are some people he hates, but Lamb remarks that hatred would do harm, would do him more harm than any bottle of acid. Acid only burns our face or so, but hatred can burn us away inside. Lamb asks him to be a friend. Derry asks how they can be friends only in one meeting. But Lamb tells him that he can come there at any time, even if he is not there. Derry asks to help him. He tells Lamb that with one leg he can fall off a ladder and die. Derry offers to help him, but he wants to inform his mother where he is since she will be worried. Lamb doubts if he would come back. Derry assures him to return, but Lamb says to himself that people never come back, though they say that they will come back. Derry goes back to his house and tells everything to his mother. Derry says that he wants to go there, sit and listen to things. Nobody else has ever said the things the old man has said. His mother stops him from going to the old man's house. She tells that she has heard strange stories about that old man. She urges him not to go there again. Derry insists that he must go there, otherwise, he will never go anywhere in this world. In spite of his mother's strong resistance, Derry slams the door and runs away to help Lamb in collecting crab apples. In the meantime, Mr. Lamb climbs on the ladder for the apples. The ladder falls back and Mr. Lamb is killed. Derry opens the gate and says excitedly that he has come back. Suddenly, he catches sight of Mr. Lamb. He runs through the long grass and says, I came back, Lammy Lamb. I did come back. But there is no response. Daddy kneels by him and weeps and realizes that he has lost his only friend in this world. So, this was about the summary theme. Appearances are deceptive, and most often we go on dealing with impressions and prejudices about others without bothering to know them. The play deals with the sense of loss, a sense of isolation, and how to overcome it. The actual pain caused by a physical impairment is often much less than the sense of alienation felt by the person. The title on the face of it is used to mean that something seems to be good, true, etc., but that needs to be changed when you know more about it. So, this is all about the story on the face of it. Thank you. Thank you so much.